So, Silný kafe, actually, I was actually thinking, somebody was asking me, what does it mean? Why is that film called Silný kafe? Why is it called bitter coffee? Actually, I think it's an interesting pun, really, or rather, when you say in Czech, something is, well, this is really strong coffee, it's an expression which means, well, it's really too much. Okay, so actually the Czech title of the film means over the top. Now that can maybe sort of set you thinking whether this is the view of the director, that actually the behavior of the young people that you saw in that film was over the top or wasn't. Two of the main characters speak Czech as a second language, and that Egyptian woman actually has grammatical mistakes. You know, she uses wrong cases occasionally. Her language isn't totally flawless. The same with Tomislav. But again, that's a matter of course. I mean, in Britain, we've got lots of people speaking English in various ways, and we just accept it. Look at me, for instance. You know, I keep going on about how post-communist Czech film over the past 20 years keeps depicting Czech men as kind of not really heroic figures, actually as anti-heroic figures. Here you have one of them, an unusable man. Would you like to go out with David, ladies? I don't think so, probably. Yeah. So maybe here the overall theme of selfishness and defensiveness towards the outside world plays itself out as well. It's another variation of it. Although on the other hand, Tomislav and Maya are actually quite passionately in love with each other, so the emotions kind of overcome this self-obsession, I think. What do you think? Is there any difference, let me ask you first, between the girl Renata in this film and the girl Anya in The Ride? Anybody wants to comment on that?
Yeah, the girl in The Ride seemed very young and very new to the world, whereas Renata seems quite kind of hardened to it when she says the thing about I could live with a man who was unfaithful but not a man who was a nobody.
Yes, but isn't actually Renata also immature, because it looks that at the beginning she's actually, what she's saying is comes from the outside world. It's the pressure of the kind of commercial world. You know, I only go out with people who have a marvelous career, and that comes externally. But then later, when she learns from her own experience, she does something else, doesn't she?
She kind of sees that passion maybe is more important than stability and more important than being someone, and that love isn't just about kind of working as a couple, it's also about kind of complementing each other and being at both ends of the spectrum.
The film is very much about people like you, except that they obviously live in a totally different country in Central Europe. Do you feel that it is a realistic image of how young people are these days?
They act kind of like young children, like teenagers that are on some, you know, wild adventure. Like especially Renata, she's very, like, she seems very, very romantic, very like she's on this kind of wild trip.
So you think that although they live like adults, like they have their own flat and they work, in their mental outlook they are much more infantile than your friends?
It is a bit like a little girl manipulating maybe her father, not potential sexual partner, but manipulating father to buy her a doll.
Is there any difference, though, between how, in this film, between how young people behave in the Czech Republic now, the way this Icelandic film director sees it, or how people behave here? Could this film be filmed here, or is there anything particularly post-communist in this film?
I think it's like you keep talking about it as in like terms of like modern kind of relationships and if it's very post-communist, but I thought like Maya and Tomislav, like they have a very a passionate relationship where they fight all the time, and it seems like their relationships kind of, I know you said it was love, but it seemed to me more like lust.
I mean, okay, it concentrates on relationships. Do you think that it's a political statement about mores in contemporary Czech Republic? And since we're dealing with this globalization theme here, to what extent Does it have any bearing on the globalization theme? Can anybody think of?
That could be a comment on the way that society has changed and the roles that men have and the roles that women have.
But maybe that's the thing. The fact that it's not different means that the Czech Republic has moved so far that it can be viewed in the same way that Western countries can be viewed.
We would like to think the more kind of advanced they are, the more women's rights and things that you have, whereas those guys definitely had an attitude of they owned those women and they would do as they say, and they were definitely not going to be told what they were going to, how they'd lead their life through.
I'd say that this particular film is not a typical image of people I know in Czech Republic. I can see it as an image of not typically Czech, but maybe typically globalized people of, let's say, 30 years old, and I wouldn't attach it to a particular country. Really.
Renata goes away with the young boy Lada. It's like she's went over from one extreme of completely in with David for his status as a big super film director to another arguably just as unhealthy extreme of going with a guy she just really met.
Underlying theme of infantility, childishness in it. Maybe people do want to escape from that hard-hitting entrepreneurial, consumerist world back into some kind of childlike innocence.
Maybe they're not mature enough to be an adult, so that's why they're trying to escape into childish things.
Yeah, this is all there. Well, thank you very much. Very, very, very interesting discussion. Thank you.